Oh boy, here we go again. Hope you guys enjoy the weekend. Hope you got some rest this weekend. It could be a busy week ahead of us. It's Monday evening after all. I think we're the only people on the planet that look forward to Monday morning, right? Aren't we? How about a thumbs up? How about a thumbs up for being a trader? Best job in the world. Anyways, back to work tonight, Monday evening, 7th day of March, 2022. My name is Joseph, in case you're watching for the first time tonight. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're tuning in for the first time tonight, it's great to have you with me. My job tonight is to help us find the best trades, setting up for Tuesday's trading session. I got a fantastic video in store for you guys and gals tonight. Tons of great trades setting up for Tuesday's trading session. In tonight's video, I'm going to cover my favorite trades, where to get in, where I'm looking to get out, right? Take some profit. And I'm also going to talk about some stuff to avoid, right? That way you can keep yourself in the green tomorrow, stay out of trouble tomorrow, whether you're trading on your own or you're trading with us tomorrow in our trade room. Got a lot we're going to cover here tonight on the video. Got some big news coming later on tomorrow, later on this week, and obviously some big moves in the chart. So plenty of action, plenty of opportunity if you're trading on Tuesday. Before we jump in though, you better make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? You better subscribe because we're going to keep these videos coming all week this week. I publish my best trade ideas on this channel every evening. A lot of these are very time sensitive, as you can imagine, so make sure you hit that little bell icon and make sure you get those updates whenever I post something new. If you have any questions for me, don't be afraid to ask questions. Drop those questions in the comment section. I would love to answer any questions that you might have along the way. And if you enjoy the video as much as I enjoy making it, if you tune in every evening to get your mind right and get those charts right for the following day, to make sure you're ready, hit that thumbs up button for me here. Always appreciate you guys carving some time out with me on this YouTube channel. But enough of the intro though. Boy, I'm late tonight. I apologize for keeping you guys waiting on me here tonight. As you can imagine, it was a pretty busy day. Pretty busy day here in a good way though. All right, what's the game plan for tomorrow? Everything's pretty much bearish right now. You'll notice, right? S&P's bearish, Nasdaq's bearish. Anytime we see real strong moves like this, there are four different types of, there's a lot of different options here, but there are four types of scenarios that I want you to be ready for tomorrow, right? We'll talk about reversals, we'll talk about deep pullbacks, we'll talk about ranges. So I got about four different things that we'll be looking for tomorrow in the trade room. We'll cover those four here tonight. Very, very easy. So you have a good roadmap on both the NASDAQ and the S&P. We'll talk about the long side, the short side, and I'll make sure we cover all the bases. Over on the oil is probably the most difficult of these markets right now. And we'll talk about this obviously as we get into oil here tonight. We are bearish overall on oil. But I mean, come on, would anybody be surprised if we saw a strong spike higher? So we're going to talk about how to buy this market. This is a difficult one, right? Not easy to find some good quality entries long right now, but that does not mean we can't get into it. I got a couple key long entries I'm watching for here, and most importantly, I got some nice short entries on this as well. So I'm going to cover all of it in this video tonight. Make sure you're ready for Tuesday, just in case you're not trading with us in the trade room tomorrow. And speaking of Tuesday, let's make sure we get on the same page here because got a lot going on. Now, tomorrow, of course, is the 8th day of March. This is the second week of the month. So it's going to be one of those relatively quiet news weeks. The biggest news of the week this week will be coming on Wednesday and Thursday. We get the JOLTS report and the inventory report for oil on Wednesday. And we got what is arguably probably the biggest news of maybe the month, that CPI report, the CPI report of the Consumer Price Index. I'm sure all of us are feeling the pinch from inflation right now. That will tell us just how bad the pinch really is here, right? So we're going to see that on Thursday morning. Those are pretty much the only two big news events that we have here. I wouldn't worry too much about international trade right now. The situation happening in Ukraine is definitely the most important thing that's going on right now. And really, everyone's kind of waiting to see, will they be able to negotiate a ceasefire? Will the West, escalate this by providing, more military support? So there's a lot of known unknowns right there. But one thing we'll talk about in tonight's video is our job right now is to ignore the news and trade the chart. Ignore the news and trade what you see. It's not easy right now because you go on any website, right, and everyone's talking about Ukraine and Russia, and for good reason. It's not pretty out there right now. It's a mess out there. And my heart goes out to anyone that's being affected by this in more ways than just geographically. So, it's a tough situation. But please do not make this more difficult than it needs to be by having that cloud your judgment. Okay? The charts are going to tell. Remember, the charts, they're all that really matters. The news is noise, right? By the time it hits, Fox News or CNN, or remember, by the time it hits CNN Money or whatever news website you look at, that's old news by now. So turn off the news, trade the darn chart, all right? So no major news tomorrow. Big news coming Wednesday and Thursday. And so, again, our big kind of hurdle, well, not hurdle, but it's really going to be a lot of depending on kind of what happens here overnight. And so things may change a little bit between now and tomorrow morning, so there'll be a good reason for you to come out and join us in our trade room. We don't usually have this much uncertainty overnight, but there definitely is. So let's trade the chart, right, for tomorrow. Let's not let the news headlines and the fear of all the uncertainty, let's not let that cloud our judgment right now. Trading the chart, where are the best entries? I'm going to grab the oil last here tonight, right? That's kind of the oddball. The NASDAQ and the S&P are very, very similar. So a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about on these markets right now, the NASDAQ and the S&P, are going to be relatively interchangeable. All right, what I'll do is, to kind of keep the video as short as possible, I'm going to cover some of the trades on the S&P. I'll cover a couple more on the NASDAQ, all right? And again, assume that these can pretty much all be interchangeable. So rather than repeating myself over and over again, I'll go over a couple of them here, a couple of them, right, as we go later on in this video. So if you're watching for the first time here right now, make sure you watch all the way through, because I'm going to be giving you little tidbits and, little words of wisdom as we go throughout the rest of the video here, even if you don't trade all these different markets. Okay, what's the most important thing affecting the S&P right now? What's the most important thing? The most important thing is just there's a cinder block tied to the ankles of the S&P. It's very bearish, right? We had that big gap down. They came back up, right? Filled the gap, and this thing just collapsed, right? Like it was put in a bag and tossed over the edge of a bridge, right, in the river. This thing is just sinking fast. So we know, right? I know I probably watched too much Law and Order, right? We know we're very bearish. Anytime we see this much strength in one direction, what do we know? We know that pretty much anything that pulls back right now is going to be seen as a selling opportunity, right? That's one of the first things that we notice on this chart. All right, don't let the fact that we're at support fool you right now, right? There's a lot of momentum here. And again, it has nothing to do with what the newspaper says right now. It has nothing to do with what I'm reading in the headlines. That is not anywhere near on my priority list right now. All that matters to me is the strength of this move lower. Okay, that tells me be ready to sell into pullbacks. Now, there are 4 different types of pullbacks that I want to go over here with you guys. We'll cover a couple of them here. We'll cover a few over on the NASDAQ. I can see a couple differences to the S&P and the NASDAQ. Now, one more thing, right? One more thing that you want to keep in mind is the size of this move. Right? That is a huge move. It almost doesn't look as big anymore because, just because we've had so much volatility. That's 143 points, right? Just to give you guys some perspective, we are lucky to get 100 points, right, in one day on the S&P. So to have 143 and have it go all the way down, all right, anyways, it's a big move, right? It's a big move. Anytime we see a very large move in one day, okay, not momentum-wise, but large move, we want to anticipate a range, okay? And so when it comes to a range-bound market, there are 3 different ways we can trade a range-bound market, all right? So you can see there's a lot of different options here for us as we go. And then obviously we'll talk about, right, how to trade a reversal, because this could easily reverse, right? A lot of uncertainty right now. So we'll talk about, right, how this pullback may turn into a reversal as well. All right, let's first begin by talking about the pullbacks, right? What if price goes higher here? What you want to think about, the basics. I'll cover the basics in the S&P, and then we'll go into some more exotic stuff, right, on the on the NASDAQ, all right? So here's an easy kind of rule of thumb. I've got 2 sell zones marked up, one right here and one right here. All right. If I can get a pullback off of this low, what I'm hoping is I'm hoping that, remember, all kinds of momentum for the bears. What I'm hoping is we can rope in some of these buyers, right? Get these buyers to foolishly try to buy a pullback. And once they foolishly try to buy that pullback, all that momentum, think about where their stops are, right? Think about where their pain is, right? One of my first mentors in this business, like a gajillion years ago, he said, Joe, the easiest way to make money when a strong trend is wait for a bounce, wait for inexperienced, or overly aggressive reversal traders to get in, and then think about where they get into pain, right? And in this case, sell right into that pain, sell right into that stop, right? Because once those buyers get stopped out, they become sellers. And the sellers are selling here, right? Everybody's selling into that move. So once we see that, then don't forget to think about that next pullback, right? We call these failure into pullback combinations, right? Target is back down to retest that low, all right? So the sellers, right? Sellers would love to sell up off of these highs, right? Now, at some point, this market may really bounce, right? It may really bounce off this low. In fact, we almost hope it does. We almost hope it does. I've got this really nice level, this nice previous swing up there around 42.5. So this area is that second one. Okay. Now, this is honestly what we hope we get tomorrow, right? I know we want to short into this, right? If I see a really deep pullback right now, right? Really deep, get up into this. I mean, it could go as high as that 60 area, quite honestly, right? Nice deep pullback. Now, again, all of this momentum, right? So the odds are still pretty good. We end up back at that low. But now the problem is the bulls are not going to give up without a fight on this. And so we let them try once. We let them try twice, right? Cue the 2-try rule. Once those buyers now have tried twice, now think about what their pain is. Okay, find that failure. Now, these are a little bit different. These ones will usually tumble back down and give you one more entry. Now, don't get me wrong, in a perfect world, it would come right back to that moving average and get you in there, right? In a perfect world, it would pull back nice and easy, but that doesn't happen very often when you get these, right? When you get these big, pullbacks like this. What you want to try to do is go looking for that trap. Right, that trap entry here, right? So again, it's a 2-try failure. We're selling into that, right? Selling into that, into those stops, into the pain, and then of course, right? It's that trap setup. Now, trap setups have a lot of rules to them. All right. I know most of you guys have already taken the free trading course. You've learned the rules for the failures. You've learned the rules, right? All the the rules to take them, the rules to skip them for the traps. If you are one of the few that have not taken that free trading course and you haven't learned the entry setups yet and all the triggers and all the rules and when to skip them, I provide all that stuff in our free trading course. I'll put a little link up there for you in the upper right-hand corner. If you're sick and tired of missing out on the best trades of the day, or you're taking too many losses, or maybe you're like I was when I was a new trader and you just couldn't get comfortable. The anxiety, I had horrible emotions when I was a new trader because I couldn't get comfortable trading. If you have any of those problems, this free trading course will give you a roadmap to follow to kind of get you into a good rhythm, the same system we use every day in our trade room. And I include hundreds of examples of how we apply the setups to our favorite markets. So definitely grab that free course link that popped up there. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And that way, the next time I say deep pullback into 2-try failure into trap, right, you'll know exactly what those are going to look like on a real, on a real chart, right, rather than me just scribbling on them. Okay. At this point now, and again, I got a few more of those pullbacks we'll cover in the NASDAQ. By this point now, maybe you're wondering, how do we buy this market right now, right? What would the buyers do on this? There are 2 ways to buy this market, okay? And again, these will both apply to the NASDAQ as well. 2 ways to buy this market. One of them would be, let's say we go up, we get our short, and we come back down. We now complete our mission, right? Bears had this big move down. We get our buyer failure. We take our profit back off. at the low, right? Now, mission accomplished now for the bears. Now is the time where you can start looking for those crown reversals, right? Those two try failures off the low. Wait for the bears trying once, wait for the bears trying twice. And when I'm going against momentum like this, I like to look for a slight variation of these, which would be a trap setup, right? Little trap entry. The bottom line, though, is if we can get that short and we come back and we retest that low and we start seeing the bears start to struggle, right? They can't push any lower here now. Now think about everybody who foolishly sold that low, right? They got a little far ahead of themselves, didn't they? Where's their pain? Yeah, their pain's right there, right? That's where bears get out for a loss, trigger those buy orders, right? And that's where we can get that snap, okay, going higher. Now, oftentimes, these snaps are going to lead into what we call a 1, 2, 3 reversal. We'll talk about this in a second, but think about now how to draw a new channel, find that new channel, and then you want that first test, right? You want that first test. Now, I talk about this quite a bit in that free trading course. I love traps off that first test of that new channel. This could be a pullback setup. It could be a failure setup. Again, you'll learn all that stuff inside that free trading course. Okay, that's one way to buy this market right now. Second way to buy this. Let's say we pop up, but now instead of the buyers failing and giving us that short back down, now the buyers hold it and they jump. Okay, 1, 2, 3 reversal. Okay, we see these all the time. One strong pop up. Now remember, it doesn't matter how strong that leg is. They have to hold it and go. Okay, you'll know when they reverse. You will. It'll jump and just scream off that moving average. Now, once you got that 1 to the reversal, then mark up that high, mark up that low, drill down to your faster time frame, and you want that, again, first test. It could be a trap, a failure, a pull, right? I'm not going to go over all the entry techniques. You're going to learn those in that free trading class. Now, where is my target on a move like this? Okay, remember, the first leg is often equal to that second, or the third leg, excuse me. Okay, the middle leg is usually the oddball. Okay, sometimes it's symmetrical, sometimes it's not. So what you want to remember is that first leg, in this case off the low, will be what the fine-tuned target there is. Okay, now let's be honest. Let's be honest. If the buyers grab control, they want one thing, right? They want to go back to retest these highs, right? That's definitely where the buyers would love to go. But I'm telling you right now, this thing 1, 2, 3s like this, right? We grab our channel, we drill down, find the entry. A very reliable target would be that first leg and third leg. All right, just be aware of that, right? Just be aware of that for those reversals. Now I have a couple other types of reversals here. All right, I got a few more reversals that we'll talk about. So you better not quit on me now. We'll talk about some more reversals here on the NASDAQ as well. Now, if we go sideways, okay, and again, this is also very likely the NASDAQ as well. If we go sideways here, okay, there are 3 basic ways to trade a range-bound market. We are still very bearish. And once I see that range develop down here, then we know that range becomes a magnet. Now, how do you trade a bear market into a trading range? You first find the range. Then you find levels of resistance, in this case, up above that range. Then you wait patiently. You wait for the breakout going higher. Don't chase it. Wait for those buyers now to come in and foolishly buy that pullback. We have a bear market, range magnet. You will be shocked how many times buyers will buy that darn pullback. I can't say because I would have the same thing when I was a rookie. When I was a new trader, any strong move like that, I would have thought, oh, breakout pullback. There's a fib there, take it, right? But no, it's too bearish right now. So what we do is we wait for those buyers to commit. We think about where their pain is, and we find that short. Now, at this point, where's the objective? The objective is the other side of the range and, most importantly, a pendulum swing. Okay, this is really, really important. The amount we go above the range is oftentimes equal to the amount we go below the range. So this becomes the new target for those bears. Why does that matter? Because now I can go out, draw a new channel, and I can grab that first test is the best test, right? So again, it's a buyer failure pattern. And then again, I say first test here. It doesn't matter what the entry pattern is. Could be a trap, could be a failure. You'll see a lot of examples of that, right, in that free trading course, okay? And again, where's my targets? Target 1, other side of the range, right? Target 2, pendulum swing, okay? Now, I mentioned a third breakout, right? I mentioned a third breakout. We'll talk about the third breakout on the NASDAQ, all right? So that keep this video going here, all right? Now, if we sit here and keep going lower, what do we do? If we keep grinding going lower, what do we do? Repeat what I mentioned before. Wait for the pullback, shallow pullback, failure. Deep pullback, 2-try failure, right? Same thing. So if it keeps grinding lower, you can definitely tell, right? You get some more buy levels down here. If this thing, excuse me, if it really gets crazy tomorrow, the bears would love to get down to that 4,100, right? It's pretty much a big low. You don't need to be an expert to know where that low is. That low from February 24th, right? So a very easy area to see if this thing really gets carried away here for tomorrow. Now, again, I'm sure there's going to be a couple things we don't expect. So tomorrow morning in the trade room, you know where we're going to be, right? 8 o'clock Eastern time, we'll do it together. Let's keep going, though, right? I don't want to spend all of our bullets here on the S&P. How about some NASDAQ? Okay, NASDAQ is, for the most part, very similar. First big clue is the size of this move. That suggests the following day may be a range, so keep that on your radar. Second big clue is the sheer strength of this move. Anytime we see this much strength in one direction, we know the odds are very good that bears are going to sell into it for a retest of that low, right? The sellers right now, the bears, they want to get short up around these areas of resistance, right? Buyers would love, again, wait for that retest and then buy off that, right? Or get that reversal and buy it up because there's a range right here. So a reversal here, I mean, come on, it wouldn't totally surprise me. Look where we are. The amount above the range, the amount below the range. You know, yeah, this looks like it's pretty obvious they don't care about that pendulum swing too much right now, but this could easily reverse. So we definitely ready for that. And if we keep going lower, you'll notice the NASDAQ has a lot less open space, right? The S&P has a ton of open space down there. The NASDAQ is really right there. You know, they're knocking on the door here right now. The NASDAQ and S&P are similar, but they're definitely, as you can see, they definitely don't have as much space on the NQ as we do here, right, on the S&P. Okay, so how do we sell it? How do we buy it? Now, I talked earlier about the up, the failure, and the first pullback, right? That's a pretty easy one. I talked about the deep pullback, the 1, the 2, right? And then find that trap entry. Okay, so we're all on the same page there. That stuff is the exact same stuff we talked about on the S&P. Here are two more pullbacks that you want to keep in mind. And again, these can definitely apply to the S&P as well. How about a shallow pullback? What if we don't get up in this area? You know, what if we don't get it? What if all we get is a really shallow pullback? Shallow pullbacks are fine, but what you want to do is you want to look for a trap entry on a shallow pullback. Why? Because you need to get something that gets you in at the highest possible price. All right? This would not be my favorite trade for tomorrow. Okay, just to be honest with you. But this is one of the pullback setups I'm always watching. Remember, it's a ton of momentum. So even a shallow pullback can easily smack right back down to that low. What I'll usually do on this, though, is I'll wait for that trap entry. Okay, and this could also work up here too, right? Don't get me wrong, right? Go up. Traps are never bad, right? We can take them anywhere. But again, on a shallow pullback, though, again, we're not up in this area here now. What's my concern? My concern is there's just not enough meat on the bone, right? There's not enough incentive here. So I want to find some sort of trap to give me a little bit better risk-reward ratio, right? I can manage my risk, my reward much better with a trap entry than just simply trying to sell into a pullback, right? So shallow pullback, trap. Now, here's one more that you want to keep in mind, especially whenever we hope for the deep pullback, right? This market we could easily pull back into that major range here. And honestly, it would be a good thing for us because we get a nice big target going back to that low. Okay, these are called two-legged pullbacks. So now let's say, for example, right, we pop up, what usually will happen on these is like this. It'll pull back, it'll bounce off that moving average, right, and go higher here. When that happens, draw that trend line, okay? And you've got two options on this. One is going to be a thread the needle trap, which is exactly what I'm looking for on oil right now. So you're going to want to make sure you watch the whole video tonight because I'm going to talk more about this about oil. Okay, this is probably not going to be very easy. Okay, that's one way to do it. What I like in these scenarios better is I want to get underneath and use it. Right? Underneath and use it. Now, I'm going to talk a lot more about this in that free trading course. There are two ways to take this trade. One, the best one, is that short off the trend line. The second one is in case they go like this and miss it. Okay, that'll happen sometimes. They'll miss it by a fraction. What you want to do is wait for that trap. It'll almost always come back to it. Okay, makes sense? So again, let's say now we bounce on the way higher. Now draw that trend line. Again, you can try to thread the needle here with a two-try trap. I think the easier money, to be honest with you, is this down and up, right? That kind of, again, two-legged pullback, 1, 2, draw that trend line, okay? Now, again, what you really want on this is you want to see some daylight in between the trend line and the candlesticks, okay? What you don't want to get wrapped into is something like this where it kind of grinds. Okay, those are tough. Those are tough to trade. The best two-legged pullbacks are going to go under the trend line. You'll see some daylight in between the two, kind of my way of describing it, and then you'll get that nice juicy signal candle, right? Getting that short back down to retest the low. If for some reason it slips underneath that trend line, because again, there's a lot of emotion in this market right now, right? Think about that trap. Right? The trap will be your best bet if you don't get that perfect entry off that trend line. And again, the bears want to be selling back down, right, to retest that low. Now, how about a long side trade? Again, we talked about do we get the short, the retest, right? Do we get that short, the retest? And then now the bears try once, the bears try twice. Okay, one more variation of this would be draw a trend line off that high, bring it down to that low, and use that trend line support, right? Now, if you've been paying attention, I've talked about a bunch of variations on this, right? There's the trap entry, that's a variation, right? There's a trend line entry, and then of course you got the straight buy and the stop losses here. Okay, love it whenever we can find support levels to get in off of rather than buying the stops. Always a great entry there. And then again, if this really pops now and goes higher now, right? Now you've got that run higher. This is that 1, 2, 3 reversal. Okay, which we mentioned before on the S&P. Now we mark up that new channel, we mark up that low, drill down, right? Find that. Again, I love traps. I love failures. I love anything coming off of the low of that channel, right? Off that first test. Okay, so we're buying that two-try failure into that first pullback, right? And again, I say pullback. Could be a trap, could be a failure, could be anything. Okay, now going higher here. We've talked about that 1, 2, 3 reversal, right? Things start ripping, going higher. We find that new channel. We drill down and grab that first test, right? Again, first leg, third leg makes for a good target there. I would definitely, though, if they really push this thing, keep an eye on that 13,798, right? Those big tops up there are certainly going to be big magnets here if the buyers take control. Another thing you want to think about is a pop and grind reversal. Okay, sometimes what happens is you'll get these big moves down. Something happens overnight. Markets get spooked. The bears get out. The market pops. We don't get the pullback and the jump, right? The market kind of grinds and grinds and grinds. When you see it grind up like that, that is, in this context, that is a short squeeze. Okay, those are bears getting out. In these situations, you don't need the buyers here. Everybody who got short thinking the world's coming to an end with World War III, right? And I don't mean to make light of this, by the way. I shouldn't joke around too much about it. But I don't mean to make light of the situation. I know it's pretty nasty out there right now. But if the bears do get trapped, right, and they start getting out of this thing, the market will start to kind of flutter. It'll float. In that situation, you draw that nice tight trend line off those lows, off the highs, bring it all the way down to that big low, and then look left. Find those prior swings and try to find those prior swings, get underneath the prior swing, underneath the moving average for your trap, your failure, your first pullback, right? Trap, failure, pullback combo. You'll see a lot of that stuff. Again, examples of that inside that free course I mentioned earlier. First leg, third leg, right? Remember, we kind of know where the market wants to go at that point, but this will really give you a much more fine-tuned final exit. That way you're really confident, where to leave that final target as we go higher here. All right. So a couple options here as we go higher. I'm not afraid to buy this market whatsoever. Right. I'm not. Again, the news is noise. Ignore the news. Trade what you see. If we go lower here right now or go sideways, how do we trade a sideways market? Again, we mentioned this earlier, right? We talked about the breakout, the failure, trade the turn. Nothing is new there. Now, how do you know when a range breakout happens? When they break the pendulum swing. Okay? This is the one part I didn't talk about on the S&P. Okay? Let's say, for example, I'm just going to illustrate this here so you can see what I'm trying to say here. Okay? We go bearish into a range. We find our level of resistance overhead. We wait for that pop up, get those foolish buyers to buy into it. We use the failure pattern. We then drill it down, find the re-entry, right, and blast off. We make sure we grab our measured move, our pendulum swing as we call it, right? That creates a line in the sand. Now, at this point now, the bears come over. Right, here's the third piece of this range strategy. Right now, we hold the pullback, right, and we jump, right, or we grind, right. Once it breaks that pendulum swing, now broken pendulum, broken range, right, broken pendulum, broken range, and we get that breakout. Okay, what do? You find that new channel. Right? Drill down to your faster time frame and find that entry. First test is the best test. Now, where's my target going to be? Remember, the breakout leg is the measuring leg. Okay? It's always the first leg, right? When you arrange the first breakout leg, right, is that measuring leg. That'll help you fine tune it. Okay? Do not be surprised though. Do not be surprised if this thing pops and grinds. Right? Pops and grinds, same idea. Same idea, except usually a pop and grind will give you a nice little trap, right, off that high, right? I apologize for the whole Christmas tree color scheme here right now, right? But hopefully that makes sense, all right? And if it does make sense, hopefully by now, hit that like button for me. You better subscribe if you're still watching this video right now, 30 minutes into the video right now. If you're still watching me right now, you are the person I do these videos for. If you're willing to work hard with me, I'll work hard right there with you. So definitely proud of you for sticking with it and learning all the nuances of this. It's always great to have serious traders out there, right? Not just YOLO traders like what we have a lot of on YouTube these days. So now we know how to trade the range, how to sell the pullback, how to buy the reversal. Again, if it keeps on pushing lower, what do? You stay patient, right? And you wait for it. All right, we're looking pretty good here. And again, I'm sure I've missed a couple things here. I'm sure they're going to spook us with something, so make sure, turn off the news, right? Trade the darn chart. Now, the market that is probably the most difficult, and this is most likely because of two things, right? One, because of the extreme headlines we're seeing. You got both sides of the aisle right now all talking about World War III, all right? And I really hope it doesn't get to that point. Hopefully cool heads prevail, and we can get some peace going on. But the reality is that right now there's a lot of news media out there they're pouring, pardon the pun, they're pouring gasoline on the flames right now. So that is one reason why this is more difficult, right? You can get rid of that reason by turning off the news and trading the chart. The next thing is because you'll notice there's a huge spike up and a big spike right back down, right? So the logic, right, as we mentioned earlier, whenever we see a real strong move higher, right, what do we expect? We expect a deep pullback and a retest of that high. Okay, so there's a very good likelihood that at some point here we get back to see that 130.50 again. Okay, but at the same time though, look what else we have. A very strong move down. Okay, now recency is really, really important. So whatever's most recent in my eyes is more important. So that's why I say we're bearish right now on oil. Now fundamentally we're probably a little mixed, right? Because technically bearish, but again, would anybody be surprised if we see another big gap up overnight because of some new headline? I don't think anybody would be surprised. So that's what makes this, I think, one of the more difficult markets here going forward. And it might be a little bit squirrely for the rest of the week here this week. But as I mentioned today in the trade room, trade the chart, right? I'm saying it again right now, right? Trade the chart. As long as you trade the chart, you'll be fine. Now, what's the most important factor right now in this chart? The most important factor is the momentum, right? Into a trading range. So basically, we have a range-bound market with a bear bias on it. Okay, we just talked about this on the S&P and the Nasdaq. Now, the one kind of variation of this one is you'll notice there's this big trend line coming up, right? That trend line is kind of a pain in the butt, as you can imagine, right? So we've got this big move down. The bears want to get back to retest that low. Okay, get a trend line here. So what do the bears want to do? A lot of times when you see a market kind of start off underneath a trading range like this, it'll shoot up, right, to basically attract more bears, in this case to get away from that trend line, and the bears would love to sell into this area here. Okay? The bears, I would also imagine, right, if we can get it before we test that low, would love to grab a short off that trend line. Okay, not going to be easy. We're going to need to see some kind of thread the needle. You'll see what I mean in a second. And of course, the third thing would be the bears would like to break through this pendulum swing, right? If the bears can get a breakout through this pendulum swing, which basically puts us right back at this low, right? We have a really juicy magnet down here at 110. 110 is a very, when you look at the chart right now, 110 is a very logical place for this market to be because there's a big range down here. They act like magnets. And we know that big round numbers, right? When markets do stuff like this, where there's a lot of emotion involved, and we mentioned this last week, right? 100, 105, 110, 115, 120, 130. So big round numbers are going to be pretty popular because they become magnets because there isn't a lot of other things to work here. So how do we trade this thing long though? The long side here is not easy. The easiest one would be to buy off of this low. That would be a no-brainer, right? Buy off that low. The hard part though is unless you're buying right now, because this is a pretty cool example of a 1-2 try. Okay, if this wasn't if there wasn't a range down here, okay, the problem is the most recent range is always going to grab my attention. Okay, the most recent range is the more important magnet. It's more important than this range, right? Recency is really, really important. If you haven't learned that yet, hopefully you learn it now. Okay, whatever happens most recent, especially with ranges. So if this range wasn't here right now, I would be saying, we have 1, we have 2. This would be a great example of that 2-try failure for the long side. But the problem is that's not the situation. The situation is definitely 2 tries, but the range below us is a big, big problem, right? It creates a magnet down there. So ideally, we're actually hoping right now for the bears that we get this pop up, get those buyers to get suckered into this and sell it back down again. The hard part's going to be the buy side going higher, right? Because in order for me to justify getting long, I have to either buy now, which I'm not very comfortable doing, or I have to wait for a strong pop higher. But when I get a strong pop higher here, though, look where this puts me now. This puts me in a very difficult spot to get long, right? This is a very gutsy trade up here. Buying at 125 to get to 130, no thanks. It's just not a very, historically, this will not be a very successful trade. Now, again, it could work this time, but I don't like that setup at all, especially if we end up, up inside this area here. So that's the one kind of gap I see in this kind of analysis for tomorrow is we may get a big run higher here, but it's going to be difficult to get into it. All right, it really will be. The best likelihood, the best thing the buyers could probably ask for is to get up here and get a range to stick up here. If we can get a range up here, then we can start playing around with support levels below that trading range. But that's a big if right now. It really is. All right, so how do we buy it? How do we sell it? As we go higher here, again, this trend line is going to be key for us. Well, not really key, but it's going to tell us what to look for. Okay, what you want to wait for is, because this momentum will feel very bullish at that point, it will be. At this point now, it's the 1, it's the 2, and remember, there's a lot of variation of this. I like the trap entry, and I really like the breakout pullback off that trend line, right? And we've talked about these already tonight, right? Love that. I love that 1, 2. Can I get a little trend line off that low, up around that high? I mean, love that trade. Okay, this will all be depending on, though, how that trend line looks and if I can get a 1-to-1 target before I get that trend line hit. Okay, it may not be enough. You may have to wait for it to get underneath that trend line and get into it there. Okay, and then from there, we know where low of the range, that big low of day, and then potentially one big, pendulum swing going lower here. So that's why I like to. That's why I like to trade this thing short if we can get this thing to go higher here. Okay, the hardest part going higher will be if they hold that pullback, right? If they hold that pullback and jump higher, again, you're more than welcome to try to, scalp a little bit off this, right, off this first test. But this doesn't seem like the right trade to be taking, right? This seems like you're tripping over dollar bills to pick up nickels and dimes. I think unless we can see a very strong push right through that high, combine that with some fresh headlines, and keep in mind, a lot of this might happen in the middle of the night. Like it did today. So it might not be easy to get into this thing going long here. Okay. What is more stomachable, right? What is more probable, right? Higher percentage option for us will be let them get at this high, right? Let them take out this high, right? Let them try a few times. 1, 2, rope in those buyers, grab that trap or grab that trend line. And then this will be so much easier money to make than trying to buy it, right? That's easier money to make right there, rather than trying to make all your money off a little pullback, right? And again, I don't know what's going to happen, right? All I'm telling you is what the odds are, right? The odds are better if we run up into these highs here, buyers once, buyers twice, grab that hidden channel, grab that trap, right? And grab that 2-try failure. Then what do? You're not done yet. You now mark up that new low, find that channel. First test, baby. First test is the best test. That's easier. That's a great trade right there, right? That's a trade you do not want to miss tomorrow, right? If it starts to collapse off that high, find that new channel, hit the first test. Okay, now keep in mind, we may gap up overnight. We may come in tomorrow, the buyers may take it and retest that high. Even better. Now the buyers got what they want. They got their retest. Now rinse and repeat, right? And grab that sequence on the way down. All right? Is that making sense, right? Is that making sense, right? How about a hashtag light bulb, right? Light bulb moment in the comment section. Hopefully that all makes sense up there. Okay? The hard part right now will be if it sinks back into the range. If it sinks back into the range here now we try to get that trend line, right? Now that trend line becomes our best friend. Now we get up, right? In fact, if we go sideways here, it'll almost be easier, right? Go up, buyer failure, right? Into that move down. Again, we talked about kind of how to manage this earlier. Okay, I'm gonna repeat it over again, right? We talked about that earlier, right? How to trade that short off the high here. Or let's say we go back to that low, right? Now we go back and retest the low. Again, mission accomplished. Way to go, Bears. Now 1, 2, right? 1, 2. There's your 2-try failure, right? Strong blast up. Where do you think that strong blast up is going to go? It's going to probably go up back into that range here, right? The Bears get what they want. Now let the, right, trap in those Bears, grab that failure, hit that new channel, and grab that first test, right? First test is the best test. Okay, again, we've talked about that setup already. Or maybe it takes out that low. Maybe it holds that pullback and jumps off the moving average, right? Not this guy. No, not that, right? Not that. This. jumps off the moving average. Okay, that's going to free us up from that trading range. Now, mark that low, mark that high. Again, a lot of times it'll kind of grind like that. Mark up that low, mark up that high, drill down, find those traps, right? Get above the moving average, get that failure, the pullback combination, right, off that low. Where's my target? Again, 110 makes for a great target. You can easily fine tune it. First leg, third leg. Now we're talking, right? Or maybe or again, and I don't want to keep going over so many different options here right now, but hey, we want to plan our trades and trade our plan, right? It pops and grinds. Same thing, nice and tight, right? Nice and tight. Find that, right? Trap, failure, pullback combo. First leg, last leg. Now we're on to something here, okay? Now all we need is a little bit more time, right? Let's see what they give us here as we go higher. Be careful chasing this market going higher here. I'm well aware that I may be leaving some money on the table with the long side right now. But again, looking at this situation right now, it's very difficult with that range below us to be confident buying this thing right now, right? So, hey, we go where the most reliable trades are. And right now we've gone over them here tonight. Now, guys and gals, don't forget tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. You better be there with us in the trade room. You know, I cover the roadmap here tonight, but let's face it, you know, trading is all about performance, doing it the right way, without making mental mistakes, without forcing bad trades. If you're sick and tired of missing the good trades each day, or you're taking too many losses, or maybe you're like I was when I was a new trader and see some value in having a system to follow and a mentor to work with, I can really help save you a lot of time, frustration, and sleepless nights, right? One of the best things I ever did was get working with a trading coach because it just made everything easier. I'll put all the membership links, all the free course links, I'll put all that stuff down in the description of the video here tonight. Please don't be afraid to call the office. I'm always here to help out. Use that live chat button there if you got any questions, and don't be afraid to drop those questions in the comment section below. Thank you so much for sticking around tonight. Sorry for the late upload, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll do it together in the trade room. If not, you better come back and see me tomorrow night. I won't be this late tomorrow night, most likely. I'll be here on time here tomorrow. All right, guys. Either way, though, get out of here. Rest up. Be well. Be nice to each other. And be here tomorrow. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.